No matter what you're teaching or who you're teaching, these are the ways that you can diversify your teaching assessments, creating more equity versus equality. If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Ashlee Espinosa, and here on my YouTube channel, I create content for educators, artists, actors, and content creators. Every student is going to come to your class with a different background, a different skill or lack of skill or experience, depending on their training before you, whether they're coming to you in middle school or high school or even at the college level or as an adult in a certificate program. So we want to make sure that we focus on equity versus equality. I know that many of us teach the old school way, and we're really needing to change and adjust so that we can help all folks in the way that they come into us, because not every student is going to have the same experience. Everybody comes from a different background and a different skill level as they come into your classroom. Now, this old school way of teaching, which is grading, A, B, C, D, or failing, is really hard and challenging to create a way of teaching students how can they progress, how can they excel, how can they get better from where they are when they first come into your classroom. And those letters really were created during the Industrial Revolution, when they were trying to find ways to sort out students in certain skill levels. And it was really that factory way of just funneling the same people down the same path. Well, that doesn't work at all. It really didn't work then, but it definitely does not work now. So here are a few things to keep in mind when you're creating your assessments for your classroom, whether it's online, face-to-face, or hybrid, whether it's in an institution or whether it's going to be in your own studio or your own business. Consider less paper. I know many people, that's the big thing, right? Take the midterm, the final exam, the quiz. See how you can create assessments that are not just on paper, right? Even my notes that I have for this video here. How can you assess them without putting pen to paper, or without just having them answer questions, without having them do multiple choice, fill in the blank, or even essay format? What are other ways that you can create an assessment to test their skill and their knowledge and their progress in the course that you're teaching? Avoiding any type of grading that is going to be based on participation, attendance, involvement, attitude. I know that we want to grade them on that. Many teachers out there do, because you feel like that's a way for you to teach them, right? Are they showing up? Are they participating? But that's really not equitable for our students. Many students that I've worked with at the college level, they didn't get to class that one day because their family member, you only have one car in their family, and their family couldn't, they had to give it to the other family member, and they literally couldn't get there. Or they take the bus, and the bus was broken down, or didn't get to them on time. Or whatever their reason is, you don't know where they're coming from. And so if you grade them on attendance, that may not even get them to the grade level to get them to progress on. So think about how else you can grade versus those really almost difficult, challenging ways to grade them: attitude, participation. See how you can find another way to grade them on the progress that they're offering and doing in your classroom. Here's 3 ways that you can change your grading assessments right now. The first one is to allow rewrites or redos, especially if you're doing some type of essay or paper or something that's going to be a large percentage of their grade. Allow rewrites and redos. Now, I know that a lot of folks are going to respond, a lot of educators are going to respond with, well, that's going to take me more time. That's okay. What you can do to balance that out is, instead of making them write 4 papers, maybe you only make them write 2 papers during your class, or instead of doing 2, you have them write 1. And then that way you can create time in your course to have them submit that paper or that assignment, and then give them a chance to redo it, so it's not taking up more of your time to do it outside of class. A lot of times that's just what they need. They don't really know coming into your class. Maybe they don't really know MLA format, or they don't really know how to format a paper. I even have that at my college students level. Students come in and they really don't even know how to write fully an essay paper. And so if I give them the guidelines, give them notes, let them redo it, it's really going to help them in the long run. Also, having retakes on exams, quizzes, or anything that you're really giving them that's going to be give them anxiety in that moment, allowing retakes. This is really helpful if you are teaching an online class. You can give them 2 chances, or 3 depending on what how your course is set up. You can give them 2 chances to take that exam, and the highest grade is recorded. Maybe they take the exam the first time and they bomb it, and they have, they still have a couple of days to take it because it's an online course. They can go back and go, okay, that tells me that I need to go study more, or I need to find a better way to organize my thoughts and to know what I'm not doing well in that section of that exam, to go back and restudy it. So it really just does create a more equitable area for those students that come in with different skills or knowledge. The next thing you can do is to create smaller, digestible assessments. Meaning, instead of doing one big midterm or one big final, how can you break that up into smaller sections? So instead of the students bombing the final and then they don't even pass the class, can you perhaps do 4 quizzes and then a midterm exam? I like to do this a lot, especially when I'm teaching in the quarter system, is break it up with some type of quiz. And maybe the quizzes are going to equal out to be the same weight as a big exam. I mean, we have to keep in mind that those big exams are creating anxiety, they're creating stress, they're making these students crash, memorize, and study in one night. And then what's the purpose in that? So let's break it up over time so they don't feel the pressure to have everything, jammed into their brain into one single exam. So see if you can break it up into smaller, digestible assignments and assessments. Also, what that does is it helps the student notice, okay, the first assignment that I did, I really didn't do that great in it. And because of the feedback that I got from the teacher or the professor, now I know what I need to work on, so the next time I take an assessment with them, I can progress in my knowledge, in my skill, in whatever that class is. So you really want the progression to get better. You don't want it to really, get worse. You want every single time they come and take an assessment, they understand what they need to do better to, elevate themselves in that class. And the third, the most important one, this is one that I tell every single educator, especially for those of you that are teaching online or hybrid at every single level, is to have a rubric. I can't tell you how many students that I work with now that are adults that say to me, I've never had a rubric before, and they're graduate students. And sometimes faculty don't know, and so I want to allow you right now the chance to understand why a rubric is so important. What happens is, if you just say, you're going to write a paper and the paper is going to be about, this topic. It needs to be 4 pages or X amount of words, and it needs to have a thesis, and it needs to have examples to back up that thesis statement or that opinion. Well, then you go back and grade it, and you give them the grade of a C. Well, it wasn't good enough. Well, the student's going to respond by saying, well, I didn't know you wanted me to also include this, this, and that, or to also have this element, or to cite, or to have 5 sources that weren't something I found on the internet. So the best thing you can do is create a rubric. Even as a theater professor, I teach musical theater, and most of my assessments, they're objective. And the way that I navigate that is to make sure the rubric is going to be specific so the student knows exactly what they need to do to be successful in that assignment or that assessment, versus saying how to get an A, which is what we have to do. We have to give them a grade. But this is how you can be successful in this assignment. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So if I'm creating an assessment for a student that's performing a song, my first rubric is going to be broken down with, did they present that song? Did they show up? Did they perform the song? Were they memorized with their lyrics, or did they at least have some knowledge of what they were singing? Did they communicate the text, which is what we talked about in that class? And did they follow the one element that we talked about, which was creating a moment before? Did they make an attempt to create that moment before in their performance? So you really want to give them a rubric. That way the students know what you're looking for, and there's no question to them as to, okay, you know what, they did say that I needed to have this included, and I didn't do that, and that's why I was counted down. When you have that rubric, the best thing you can do as well is when you grade them, go back in, give them a grade, and then comment and tell them, this is why I lowered your grade. This, and the next time you do this, the next time you present this thing or create this paper or do this work of art, whatever it is, this is what I need from you. This is what I'm looking for so that you can progress. So create rubrics. I will tell you it is the best thing you can do so that your students know exactly what you're looking for. By doing these things, you're really diversifying the way that you assess folks. It always doesn't need to be an essay. It doesn't need to be, a multiple choice. It doesn't need to be just on paper or just typed. Come up with other creative solutions that you can implement into your course that are going to offer other people that perhaps don't really do well when they take a test, don't really do well when they write a paper or write an essay. Find another way that you can assess them that maybe is more involved, or they're utilizing their voice or their opinion or graphics, something in your industry that is going to create create assessments that are going to be diverse. That way every student has a way to shine and has a way to showcase to you where their strengths are and how you can help them in the things that perhaps they need a little bit more of a guidance in. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to get more content. I really appreciate you watching this video. This is a big part of my business, and I just want to say thank you for watching. If you find value in this video, don't forget to share it with someone else, another educator that might also find value in it. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video, everyone. Bye.